Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your continued support. Right, so as if it wasn't enough that disabled people are being targeted for severe cuts to benefits and to help and things like this, they're now trying to go after the Motability scheme, which allows people who have mobility issues to get a car. Now, the terms of this scheme are not set by the person who's disabled. They're not set by anything like that. You know, a proportion of a person's benefit goes to pay for this scheme, so they're not getting it free of charge. A lot of people say they're getting it free. You're not getting it free of charge. You're giving up a portion of your benefits to get these cars. But now there are a lot of people saying that these cars are being people are getting these cars who don't need them, for example, shall we say that. Let's look at the article and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so car scheme for benefit claimants admits thousands of cases of abuse. Now, the company that provides disabled people in exchange for a portion of their benefits has admitted to finding thousands of cases of abuse of taxpayer subsidised scheme. Motability Operations, which has grown to become Britain's largest car buyer, said it removed 5,300 customers from the service, or 15 per day last year, after investigations into misuse. The chief executive said the business looked at 35,000 claims of abuse of the scheme last year. The revelation comes as the scheme, which is not run by the government, comes under intense scrutiny amid concerns it has spiralled in cost. Motability was handed a record £2.8 billion of taxpayer cash last year to fund new cars for people on mobility benefits. But these people are getting a mobility component of their benefits. They don't, you have to qualify to get one of these cars. People who are on PIP or get any kind of benefits, they have to have a certain criteria. You have to be, for example, on the highest rate of PIP to get it. You have to have a mobility portion of qualifying benefit to get these cars. So that's a little bit bad in terms of how they're making people look. It's not the case. Yes, they are getting taxpayer cash because they're coming from benefits, but this is benefits that's going to these people. So it's not, it's not something the government are giving on top of it. It's something that's coming from these people. As well as helping benefit claimants to access a car, Motability covers insurance costs and installed more than 66,000 charging points at homes of people on disability benefits free of charge. Not free of charge. Richard Tice, the deputy leader of Reform, told the Telegraph last week the whole Motability scheme. This is the deputy leader of Reform UK. The mobility scheme was well intentioned and had the right ambitions when it started out, but has now been hijacked and is being used and abused by a whole load of freeloaders. Bluntly, if you've got a mental issue or ADHD for one of your children, you don't need a free car from the taxpayer. This is Reform. So if you're thinking that Reform UK are going to be the answer to disability, this is what they think. This is what they think of you. This is what they think. This is what every political party thinks of the disabled. They think that you're freeloading. You don't get a mobility car if you just have a mental health issue or ADHD, because you have to have a mobility element on there. So you would have been assessed. You can't just go up and say, I need a mobility element of my PIP or whatever it might be. Please give it to me so I can get a car. No, you have to be assessed. So the DWP have assessed that they have a mobility issue which warrants them getting that funding or getting that benefit, which warrants them then getting a car. As an example, my daughter has autism on its own, would not qualify for her for a car. But she also has EDS, which is a connective tissue disorder, so she can dislocate any bone in her body. So therefore her mobility is severely compromised. Now, if you look at her and say, oh, she's got ADHD, she doesn't need a car. Many people with ADHD and autism and other issues like this also have secondary conditions, and this is what people don't understand, and this is what Reform don't understand. So this is actually really annoying, to be fair. Mr. Miller said Mobility was launching a crackdown on the number of people permitted to use each car it provides after finding evidence of possible misuse, such as a number of journeys that were happening between 11 PM and 6 AM. Of course, misuse is not a very good thing. It looks bad on everyone. if people are misusing these cars, it looks bad on everyone. So of course they've got to crack down on misuse, but that doesn't mean everyone. It just means that there are certain people out there who may be using it for reasons that they shouldn't be. We have to start looking at tracking more to try and counter some of the very valid challenges we are getting on people using the scheme in not the way it was intended. Are we perhaps being too generous on the insurance criteria? We're having to look at quite heavily at the moment. Founded in the 70s, Motability has become under scrutiny as the government announced 5 billion cuts to the welfare system last week. Britain's welfare crisis has led to a huge spike in the number of people eligible for a free car through the scheme because they have mobility issues and it's not a free car. They're giving part of their benefits. I don't understand. People like these who write these articles have not got a clue. Not got a clue. Around 815,000 people now qualify, up from 650,000 2 years ago, after a surge in the numbers qualifying for higher rate personal independence payments that include mobility payment. There you are. It's not free. They're not getting this on top of all of their benefits. They're giving part of their benefits up to get these cars. Please, anyone out there who's got any doubts, this is what is happening. Mr. Miller said that more than 40% of its customers have a household income of less than 20,000. The average Motability user is in their 50s. While a significant minority of mobility users have a low income, the leasing scheme allows successful claimants to exchange part of their disability payments for brand new cars, including BMWs and Ford Mustangs that would otherwise cost as much as $55,000 if they make an upfront payment in addition to signing over a portion of their benefits. But this isn't everybody. Not everyone gives over, gives an upfront payment. I mean, upfront payments can be very high on the Motability scheme. It depends on, I guess, your finances. Now, if you're on a low-income family, there are cars on there that don't require an upfront cost that you can get. That doesn't take all of your benefits. It doesn't have an upfront cost. You can get a car that's, a smaller car that can do with your needs. These people, as I say, they're 50s and overs. Probably a lot of them are pensioners who have perhaps access to savings and other things that maybe allow them to do this. That doesn't mean it's everybody. And I think they're being very deliberately misleading, I think, in this particular article. Critics have questioned the appropriateness of offering such expensive cars through the scheme. Motability has been branded out of control by critics who fear that the broad range of conditions under which recipients may qualify, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism and anxiety, leaves it vulnerable to exploitation. Again, if you have a mobility problem, applicants must prove that such conditions affect their mobility to be eligible. Exactly. Have you ever tried to prove something to PIP that you haven't got? It's very hard. You can't. It's fraud in the PIP situation is less than 0.1%. Why are they saying that this being misused? Okay, there may be some people who are misusing the scheme, but to get the scheme, to get the mobility component, you have to have a certain level of disability. A spokesman for Motability Operations said, misuse of the scheme is unacceptable when concerns are raised, whether by our own teams or from external sources. We investigate thoroughly and take appropriate action. So really, basically, it says at the button there, the car giant cashing in on Britain's disability benefits boom. No. Anyway, sorry for the rant there, but this really does get to me because they're spreading lies about the fact that this is a free car. It's not a free car. You're giving up part of your benefits to do it, and the fact that this is something which has been set up. It's been it's not something that people have gone out of their way to find. This is something that was available to every disabled person if they get the right qualifications. The fact that their new cars isn't up to the person who buys the car, is not up to the person who has the disability. Motability provide the cars brand new. That's their thing. That's not what people don't go out there and say, I want a new car. If these cars weren't new, if they were second hand, I'm sure people would still want them if they were properly maintained. So the fact they're new is not up to the person who's got a disability. That's up to the Motability scheme. But anyway, a rant over. But anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section about this, because that's another attack on the disabled. They want people to be sitting at home, not being able to go to hospitals, not being able to go to therapy. They just want you sitting at home, basically begging for food and money. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. As always, if you've got this far, please do subscribe, and I'll see you next time.